Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto Was in Rosario Vampire, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Seizu howled as he felt the just-healed ribs snap and break. Mercy, he cried out. His answer was to have his ribs stomped on again. Mercy, Midu mocked. He brought his oversized fist down, cracking open Seizu's skull and sending blood spraying up into his face. There's no place for mercy here. I warned you what would happen if you lost, didn't I? Though in agony he looked around at the other members of the crew. They were just sitting there watching. He saw his friend Mohoha and reached a hand out to him. Please, help me. What, you want me to be ked too? Mohoha said coldly. Can you at least try and with a little self-respect? Midu sounded disappointed. You never showed anyone any mercy when you were on top, you can't really expect any now. He brought his fists down on Seizu's face again and again, flattening it and sending his brains and blood all over the floor. When he'd finally had enough, Midu stopped and looked up at the other members. He was pretty much covered in blood. He looked at their eyes and nodded to himself. There was no need to say anything, the lesson had obviously been taken to heart. Take this garbage and bury it somewhere. XXXXXXXXXX. It had been a couple weeks since Seizu's attack. Naruto and Mocha were both glad that he seemed to have left school. Naruto was still amazed at how easily violence and even death was accepted here. Every week it seemed at least 1 or 2 students went missing or were found. At a normal high school there would have been mass panic and demands for better security or even demands that the school be closed. Yet here the violence was simply accepted. It was almost seen as a part of common life and hardly worth noticing. Naruto thought back to his time in Konoha. He fully understood that humans could be just as brutal, even the ordinary humans who were not ninja. But in human society, violence that occurred within the village was seen as an aberration, as a crime. War and ninja missions were in a different category. At least when the victim of said violence was not universally hated. When he thought about it, Naruto suspected there was probably as much violence in human society as there was in monster society. The difference seemed to be that humans tended to see violent behavior as the exception, whereas monsters viewed it more as the norm. He wondered if that meant monsters were more barbaric, or just more honest. Even though he was surrounded by violence and potential enemies, Naruto was happier than he'd ever been. He was finally making headway in the ninja arts and becoming stronger. He'd made 2 really good friends who he'd grown close to and become fond of. And most importantly of all, he had an amazing girlfriend. Of course there were a few issues. One of his friends was constantly threatening to smother him every time he greeted her. She was also trying her best to come between him and his girlfriend. As for said girlfriend, there was the slight issue that she liked to drink his blood on a daily basis. There was also the fact that she had a second personality that was kind of scary, though also very hot. Not to mention that if he ever wanted to have with his girlfriend, he would have to somehow convince that second personality. Well, no one ever said life was simple. What are you thinking? Naruto came out of his own thoughts and looked over at the girl he was walking arm in arm with. Mocha was everything he could have ever wished for in a girlfriend. She was absolutely beautiful, sweet, kind, smart, and even powerful. Every single time they walked together he drew jealous looks from the other boys. Despite the problems that came with her being a suppressed vampire, he still couldn't help but wonder how such an amazing girl had wound up with an idiot like him. I was wondering why you chose me, he said. She looked confused. What do you mean? You're such an incredible girl, Mocha-chan, he said seriously. And you can have your pick of any guy here. I'm just wondering why you picked me. I mean, there are better looking guys, stronger guys, smarter guys, so why are you with someone like me? She looked at him for a moment as they continued to walk together. She let out a deep sigh. Naruto-kun, please don't be such an idiot. All these boys, she glanced over at them. They stare at me and tell me how much they like me. They all like me in this form. If they saw me in my true form, they wouldn't come near me. I've seen it my entire life. Vampires are not liked by other monsters. We are too powerful and too scary, they fear and avoid us. She put her head down on his shoulder. But you've seen the real me and you're not afraid. That is what makes you so special to me, Naruto-kun. That is why you never need to worry about any other boy taking your place. He smiled at her. Thanks, Mocha-chan. I'm sorry if I'm a little paranoid. It's just that I've never had a girlfriend before. Thank you for setting my mind at ease. I am happy to. They walked on for a little bit. Naruto, she lifted her head from his shoulder. She had a worried look on her face. There is something I've been wondering about too. Yes, what happens when you graduate? He looked at her in total surprise. Graduate? Why are you worried about that? That's a long ways off. So you haven't given it even a little bit of thought. Well, I don't really need to give it any thought. I am bound to follow the orders of my Hokage. He has already informed me that when I graduate from this place I will return to my village. I'll be given the academy graduation test and then be allowed to become a ninja and finally begin my career. Become a ninja? Aren't you a ninja already? Looking a bit embarrassed, he reached up and touched the highlight that was always around his forehead. Well, technically I'm only a citizen of my village. I won't become a ninja officially until I pass the test and am awarded the rank of genin. My old sensei gave me this and told me I was a ninja in his eyes, so I consider myself to be one even if it is unofficial. So you'll go back to your village? He nodded. That's right. But I thought you hated it there, she said. You haven't told me much about your past, but I know they made you leave when you were 8. From things you've said I know they haven't helped you much and you never mention the village in a positive way. I definitely got the feeling you didn't like it. Was I wrong? He let out a long depressed sigh. No, I can't say I have any good memories of that place. And to be honest, the idea of going back there makes me very, very nervous. Then why go back? She asked. It's complicated, he admitted. There are things you don't know about, things I can't tell you. But if I were to not go back, my village would come after me. The Hokage would send hunter nins to find and execute me. I would have to spend the rest of my life as a rogue ninja, what they call a missing nin. Besides that, even though I don't give a damn about the people there, I do want to see Iruka-sensei again. I want to have a great career and be a great ninja so that he can be proud of me. She smiled. You really care about your old teacher, don't you? Except for you, Mocha-chan, he is the only other person that truly matters to me. And what about me? She asked in a small voice. What? What about me? She repeated. What place do I have in your future? Or do I only get to be with you for as long as we are both here? He brought him to a halt and turned to face her directly. Mocha-chan, what are you talking about? I am crazy about you and want you to always be with me. You're the girl who has my heart and I can't imagine ever giving it to anyone else. Naruto-kun, I feel the same way. Since I've been with you it's like I've felt really alive for the first time. I don't feel lonely anymore, just getting to be with you makes me happy. And when you kiss me, she suddenly turned a dark shade of red. Well, you make me happier than I ever thought I could be. I don't ever want to be without you. Then you won't be, he said firmly. We'll always be together. How? She asked. I know how hard it was to hide my identity among regular humans. How long could I keep what I am, a secret surrounded by ninja? If they found out what I really was, what would happen to me? Would they be willing to accept a vampire living among them? I don't know. She was asking some very hard questions. She was definitely right that it would be hard for her to keep her secret for any amount of time. The village would be suspicious of any outsider who was attached to one of their ninja, especially him. And given the abilities of the Inuzuka or the Hyuga or the Yamanaka, her secret was likely to be exposed before long. Then what? Would they allow a vampire to be a resident of the village? Naruto had no illusions about how tolerant the people of Konoha were. Seeing him struggling to try and answer, she gently reached out to take his arm and got them walking again. It's all right. Like you said, graduation is a long way off. You don't have to decide anything right this minute. For now I am very happy with the way things are. She looked at him carefully. But eventually you will have to make a decision about us. He slowly nodded and did not say anything more. She had brought up some very difficult questions. He would need to give them some serious thought. When they got to the girls' dorm they shared a quick kiss. Do you want to come over for some dinner and some stews? I'll make some of that ramen you like. He gave her a weak smile. Sure, he said. Mocha was an amazing girl with a lot of wonderful qualities. Alas, cooking was not one of them. I hope she manages not to burn the ramen this time. XXXXXXXXXXX. When the time came, there was a swirl of wind and leaves in Mocha's living room. Having learned the shunshin, he preferred to use it as a discreet way to go to and from Mocha's without anyone noticing. As soon as he materialized, he knew something was seriously wrong. Mocha was nowhere to be seen and there was no smell of burnt ramen in the air. Mocha-chan. Mocha, are you here? There was no answer to his call. Looking around, he spotted her leather briefcase sitting on the kitchen counter. There was a note taped to it. XXXXXXXXXXX. They were in an old abandoned warehouse a few miles from that academy. Inside, Midu waited patiently as one of his men hurried up to him. He's coming, just like you said he would. Midu nodded, not surprised. He looked over to where Mocha was bound up in chains. He must really love you. I mean, to just walk right into what is an obvious trap. I'd certainly never do anything so stupid for anyone. Why are you doing this? She asked. We've never done anything to you. You exist, vampire, and that's reason enough. Midu said coldly. You elitist bastards who insist on thinking you're so superior to the rest of us. We outcast Ayashi despise all you pure breeds, and eventually we'll kill every last one of you. We'll create a world where our kind alone rule. Mocha stared at him. She could not understand such unreasoning hatred. Then leave Naruto out of this. He is human, so you have no reason to hate him. Sorry, but that's not going to be possible. He helped to defeat 3 of my people. I can't let a half-breed get away with that. Midu turned away from her and toward the gaping entrance to the warehouse. Naruto was calmly walking inside. Welcome, I thank you for coming. Naruto, please run. Mocha shouted to him. Get out of here. It's all right, Mocha-chan, he called out to her calmly. He continued to walk towards her as his eyes darted about. He could count 10 people, all of them between him and a chained-up Mocha. I trust you didn't tell anyone about this before coming here. Midu asked politely. No, I did as your note asked. Now let Mocha go. He casually took out a kunai. Smiling, Midu began to walk towards him. His people began to move to slowly surround Naruto. Your girlfriend was very hard to capture. I don't think I can just simply let her go. His body began changing and his right arm expanded into a mass of muscles. You know you're very brave to come here all alone. I would go anywhere or do anything for Mocha-chan. Now let her go or I'll make you pay for what you've done. Midu laughed and kept walking towards him, flexing his massive arm. And what can one little human do? Naruto smiled. I'm not just a human, I'm a ninja. With ease he threw the kunai at his opponent. Midu did not even bother to dodge as it sailed more than a foot from his head, actually landing near Mocha's feet. Is that it? Midu sounded disappointed. I saw you fight against Seizu. Is this really all you're going to do to try and save your precious girlfriend? Midu was standing right in front of him, raising his arm. Naruto stood where he was, calm and unmoving. There's something you should know about ninja. What's that? Midu brought his arm down, viciously striking the top of his opponent's head. The instant he hit him, Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. Well behind Midu and the others, the kunai's henge was dropped and Naruto stood right in front of Mocha. Ninja know how to be sneaky when necessary. He reached out and pulled off Mocha's rosary. Immediately she was surrounded by a powerful demonic aura. Her hair became silver, her eyes red, and her body became a mature woman's. With ease she snapped the chains that had held her. She spared Naruto a quick nod before moving with her amazing speed straight at Midu. To be laying your hands on me, you trash. Before he could even move, she sent her fist into his face and Midu flying into and through a brick wall. Know your place. The other outcast Ayashi stood there in stunned horror and began to babble in panic. No way. She took him in one blow. We are so s. Mocha looked at them contemptuously, then glanced over to Naruto. Uzumaki, Naruto, I thank you for your assistance. He smiled at her, relieved everything was now okay. No problem, Mocha-san. She looked back at the others. Leave now and never trouble either of us again, or else attack me and take your chances. They all looked at each other nervously. None of them eager to fight someone powerful enough to defeat Midu-san with just one blow. As Mocha was aiming, the pile of fallen bricks was tossed aside and Midu rushed toward her back. Don't underestimate me. He was fast and caught her with a powerful punch to her back that sent her down onto the concrete floor. Mocha. Naruto pulled out a pair of kunai and rushed over to her side. Are you all right? Ignoring his outstretched hand, she quickly got back to her feet. Do not be so concerned, Uzumaki Naruto, he caught me by surprise. She turned back towards Midu. But such a weak monster could never defeat me. Again she moved straight at Midu with her full speed. Even though he was ready for her, he was too slow to block her attacks. She struck him a quick series of punches and kicks that sent him reeling back. He tried to hit her, but his punches with his huge arms seemed slow and clumsy and she had no trouble evading them. As they fought, Naruto kept an eye on the rest of them. Since she seemed to be having no trouble with her fight, he decided to be her backup and keep an eye out for any sort of nasty surprise. One of the outcast Ayashi looked at another and nodded. Understanding, the second ran over to a lever at the far wall. Mocha looked down at her bruised and beaten opponent. Have you had enough? She asked with a snarl. Or do you require more of a beating to know your place? Midu looked up at her and struggled back to his feet. So this is the strength of a vampire. I finally understand. You take the energy of your demonic aura and convert it into physical power, don't you? Simple, yet dreadfully effective. But, he smiled at her with a bruised mouth. With only this you cannot win against me. What did you say? Mocha prepared to continue his beating. Vampires may hold the greatest power, but in exchange they are famous for their many weaknesses. Above them there was a creaking sound, followed by the gentle fall of water from the sprinkler system. Among them being water, I believe. Ah! Mocha howled in agony and collapsed, her power painfully drained from her. Mocha-san. Seeing her in sudden trouble, Naruto ran towards her regardless of the danger. But with the vampire now incapacitated and helpless, the others were able to grab a hold of him. Get his arms and don't let him bring his hands together. Midu ordered. If he can't use his hands, he can't work any of his magic. Two got a hold of each arm and forced Naruto down to the ground. They were much too strong for him to shake loose, and while they held his arms he could not work a jutsu. Get away from Mocha! He screamed at them. Midu wiped the blood from his mouth and smiled up towards the sprinklers. To think, all it took to defeat a mighty vampire was a little water. He looked down at her. She was awake and conscious but barely able to move. Would you like to make some more threats or tell me again about putting me in my place? She looked up at him. Despite the pain, she was still able to speak. Please, please let Naruto go. Do what you want with me, but let him go. He shook his head. Well, how noble, how tragic, someone should write a book. Neither of you are going to survive this. The only question is, who do I beat to death first? He looked from Mocha over to Naruto and then back again. Let's do this the old-fashioned way, ladies first. He lifted up his arm. Stop. Naruto howled. Don't touch her. He struggled like an animal but remained pinned to the ground. Does it hurt, half-breed? Midu asked in a polite voice. Knowing the girl you love is about to end, and there's not a damn thing you can do but watch. Like I said before, what can one little human do? He turned back to Mocha and got ready to end her life. Mocha looked up, unafraid. Please escape, Naruto, I want you to live. Seeing what was about to happen, Naruto felt a terrible rage fill him. He shut his eyes and looked inside to a dark place that had always been there. Give me power, he cried out. And there was an answer. Something frightening stirred and came awake. He felt its power flow through him like fire. Done. A voice boomed and began to laugh. XXXXXXXXXXX. Midu suddenly froze as he felt a new demonic aura fill the air. There were screams of terror as his people were suddenly tossed aside as though made of straw. Naruto was standing on his feet, a demonic aura blazing all around him. The aura was so powerful it actually took on a physical form, wrapping around Naruto like some sort of second skin. It took on the shape of animal, even creating ears and a single tail. Midu could see that Naruto's body had transformed as well. His hands had become claws, the scars on his cheeks had thickened, and he now had fangs. But most frightening of all, his eyes were red instead, just like the vampires. Mocha was also watching and was just as amazed. Naruto, how? Feeling not only his power but a ferocious intent, Midu began backing away, Mocha forgotten, his eyes locked on this new demonic figure. Ho, how? You're human. You can't have a demonic aura. What the hell are you? Naruto smiled. I'm a monster, and I'm gonna K you. Power. Such incredible power. He felt it pouring out of him like light from the sun. He felt limitless, invincible, almost godlike. This is why they feared me, why they hated me so. The reason for all his past suffering was suddenly clear. They'd understood what was inside of him all this time. They'd understood that one day he'd have this power, and they'd been afraid. Could a human being really have this sort of power? He suddenly recalled what Iruka-sensei had said to him so many years ago, telling him he was not a monster. I wonder if Iruka-sensei might have been wrong. His train of thought disappeared as he saw Midu backing away from Mocha. Ho, how? You're human. You can't have a demonic aura. What the hell are you? He smiled. He could smell Midu's fear. I'm a monster, and I'm gonna K you. This bastard had been just about to K the girl he loved. He'd get no mercy. Acting on pure instinct, he dropped to all fours and dashed straight for him. As Naruto came rushing at him, he let loose a blood-curdling howl that was not even close to human. Midu had been in 100 fights in his life and come close to a few times. He'd never been scared. Even as the vampire had been beating him senseless, he'd felt no fear at all. But that howl and the pressure of that king intent bearing down on him left him feeling weak and frightened. Wait, he wasn't sure what he was going to say. But whatever it was, he never got the chance. Naruto raced up to him and raked his hand straight up and out. The demonic cloak that surrounded him mimicked his move. A claw made of the solid aura tore straight into his stomach and plunged in deep. Following the motion of Naruto's hand, it tore straight up through his chest and gutting him and sending and blood splattering all about. Midu collapsed in a lifeless heap without a sound, his eyes still open and his face still fearful. Naruto suddenly stopped and looked down at what he had just done. XXXXXXXXXX. 8 years ago. Why do we have to K Iruka-sensei? Isn't it enough just to fight and win? Why must we K? Iruka looked down at the 8-year-old. This was one of the hardest parts about training ninja, the stripping away of childhood innocence and exposing them to the harsh realities of ninja life. Naruto, I am afraid that King is simply a necessary part of being a ninja. There is no way to avoid it. Be certain, if you become a ninja you will have to K at some point. But why? His own experiences had left him some strong opinions on the concept of M. Iruka sighed. I'd like to tell you that you will only K when absolutely necessary, to save your life or the life of a comrade. But that would be a lie. You may well have to K under those circumstances, but it is just as likely you will have to K even when that person is no threat. Assassinations are often requested and accepted by us and all other ninja villages. As a ninja you will be expected to be ready to K whenever it is necessary. But why K someone who's no threat? Naruto demanded. Because Naruto, the world is a hard place with hard problems. And sometimes the best, the easiest solution, is to just K the person who is the problem. Naruto frowned. I don't think I could ever really K anyone, especially if they hadn't hurt me. Iruka looked down at him sadly. I'm sorry Naruto, but if you are going to be a ninja you have no choice, ninja K. He swallowed and looked away. What if I can't? A gentle hand patted his shoulder. It may be very hard Naruto, but when the time comes you will do what has to be done. Just as I have and just as every ninja has. XXXXXXXXXX. He'd always imagined the very first time he K'd anyone it would be hard for him. He'd never once imagined it would be so fun. He'd enjoyed it. Turning around he saw the other rogue monsters looking at him in terror. He smiled, eager to do it again. Then he glanced down at Mocha. She was lying on the ground looking up at him. He couldn't read the expression on her face. Is she afraid of me now? He knelt down beside her. Are you all right, Mocha-san? She grunted and managed a slight nod. It was obvious she was in pain. Please take me away from here, Uzumaki Naruto. All right, he answered tenderly. Her safety mattered to him more than anything else. Not knowing how exactly, he suppressed his demonic aura, causing his cloak to disappear. His body, however, remained transformed. He carefully lifted her up and held her bridal style in his arms. Though he could not see himself, he knew he had changed. He looked down into her face. She was looking back at him calmly enough. "Please don't be afraid of me," he whispered to her. Her lips seemed to twitch just a bit. "And why would I fear you?" Not sure how to answer that, he looked at the faces of Midu's men. They were all still looking back at him frightened. "If any of you ever touch Mocha again, I swear I'll kill you." He brought his hands together to perform the necessary signs, and he and Mocha disappeared in a swirl of air and leaves. Once he was actually gone, the remaining outcast Ayashi finally got over their fear. They all left as quick as they could, not even bothering to bury their former leader. They were panicked and were quick to tell others what they'd seen. Before long, everyone at Yukai Academy would be talking about the human with the demonic aura. XXXXXXXXXXX. The two of them reappeared in Mocha's living room. Naruto carefully set her down on a small couch. "Is this okay? Would you rather have me take you to the infirmary?" She wearily shook her head. "I have been badly drained, it will take me a few days to recover, but there is nothing they could do for me. I simply need rest." He nodded, relieved. He reached into his pocket and took out her rosary. "I'm glad you're all right," he handed her the rosary. "I'll just go then." Her hand grabbed his wrist before he could begin forming the signs. Despite her exhaustion, her grip was quite strong. "Sit down beside me, Uzumaki Naruto, we must talk." He gulped and slowly sat down beside her. She eyed him carefully. She wasn't afraid, he was sure of that now. Her scent, her wonderful scent, had no trace of fear smell in it. But she reeked of curiosity. "Please explain to me how it was possible for you to have a demonic aura. And why you have transformed. Such things should be impossible for a human." I can't tell you." "And why not?" she said coolly. He looked away. "Because if I tell you, you'll hate me," he answered miserably. "Do not be a fool, Uzumaki Naruto." He felt her hand gently touch his face and turn it back towards hers. "You have fought beside me and saved my life. You are the most precious one to my other self. Whatever it is you tell me, I could never hate you." "You sound very sure of that." She looked at him in surprise. "Do you really think so little of me, Uzumaki Naruto?" "It's not that," he tried to explain. "Everyone who knows the secret ends up hating me, except for two people. The old Hokage and Iruka-sensei were the only ones who didn't end up hating me. If you hated me too, Mocha-san, I don't think I could bear it. This is obviously difficult for you. However," she said firmly, "I am going to ask you to trust that I will not be one of those who hates you." "That's asking for a whole lot of trust, Mocha-san." She slowly nodded. "I realize that, Uzumaki Naruto, and I also understand that trust is precious and not easily earned. But please remember that I have fought for you and watched over you as you slept. You trusted me in those times, please trust in me now as well." He looked at her, his red eyes looking into hers. He remembered their very first day together. He remembered making the decision to tell her that he was human. He had literally put his life in her hands. He had trusted her then, he knew he could trust her now. "I am what they call a Jinchuriki," he said quietly. "I have within my body 9-tailed fox demon Kyubi." He stared at her face worriedly, waiting for reaction. She took the news stoically. "Please continue," she said serenely. "On the night I was born, the village was attacked by the demon. No mortal power could fight against the Kyubi. So the greatest ninja of the village, the Yondaime Hokage, decided to seal the demon into a baby, me. And so, he told her the story. He did not mention certain details such as the fact the Yondaime had been his father. He also left out exactly what happened on his 8th birthday. But otherwise he told her all about how he had been given the Kyubi and just how it had affected his life. She listened to all of it without interruption, calmly sitting there patiently with rapt attention. "I see," she finally said when he was done. "So with the exception of your third Hokage and your teacher, everyone reacted to the power inside you with an unreasoning fear and hate." He nodded. "Pretty much. And you were afraid I would react in the same manner." He again nodded. She put her hand up to his forehead and flicked a finger in the spot just below his height. "Ow." He looked at her in surprise. "What was that for?" Barker, despite trying to sound angry, she wore a light smile. "Did you really think I would hate you simply for having a great power hidden within? I understand what it is like to face unreasoning fear and prejudice simply for being too powerful. So, So you really don't hate me? Of course not. The fact you were willing to expose this secret to protect me makes me think more of you, not less. He let out a relieved breath. However, I think it would be best to keep this a secret, even from Kurumu and Yukari. Well, I'm not going to tell anyone. But do you think they would hate me if they found out? No, Mocha replied, but the reaction of the rest of the student body might not be so positive. She suddenly yawned and slumped forward against him. Ah, it seems I truly am exhausted. Her head was resting on his shoulder. Uzumaki Naruto, I yawn. Need to ask a favor of you. Anything, Mocha-san? She looked up at him with a slight grin. Please help me to remove my clothes. What? Without even realizing it, the shock of her request caused his transformation to end and he again took on a human appearance. Is this some kind of trick? No, this is no trick. I have already told you I will need to sleep for the next 2 or 3 days. I am exhausted and will need to remove these wet clothes before going to bed. I simply ask for your aid in this task. He turned a deep shade of red just thinking about it. I don't know. Does the thought of seeing my body offend you? No, but doesn't the idea of me, well, doesn't it bother you? Her smile widened a bit. No, for I trust you. XXXXXXXXXX. He actually had to carry her into the bedroom. She was too weak to do more than stand. Though he knew the circumstances, Naruto couldn't help but feel like a new husband bringing his bride to the marriage bed. With his hands trembling a bit, he then helped her remove all of her wet clothing. He tried to be a gentleman. He did not say anything and did not allow his hands to wander anywhere they didn't belong. He tried not to stare, but there was no way for him not to see all of her. Her body was absolutely amazing, every inch firm and supple. She was not quite as voluptuous as Kurumu, but there was nothing to complain about in any area. Ori, right, I go, guess I better go. He had done as she asked and now she was standing there and in front of him. Before he could leave, she leaned forwards, pressing herself against him. Her body was so incredibly warm and firm. She brought her lips to his ear and whispered to him. There is one last thing before you go. Yes. His heart was pounding and he was holding his hands out, not sure what to do with them. 1,000 possibilities were flashing through his head. He could feel her hot breath against his skin as she spoke. From now on, you have permission to call me Mocha-chan. She let go of him and slipped into her bed and beneath her covers. Good night, Naruto. Good night, Mocha-chan. He turned and fled her bedroom as fast as he could before he did something he'd regret. Watching him run away, the adult Mocha smiled and laughed herself to sleep. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.